According to statistics provided by the FBI and Project Cold Case, as of 2019, the South Central state of Texas had over 22,500 unsolved slayings, despite having a clearance rate of 74%. Many of these cases fall through the cracks. While researching for this video, we discovered numerous Jane and John Does with barely any information available on them, and dozens of missing people with little more than a paragraph to their name. In today's episode, we hope to shed light on some of these long-forgotten cases as we explore 3 chilling, unsolved cases from Texas. But first, I'd like to thank Surfshark VPN for sponsoring today's episode. The internet is an immensely important tool for us at Cold Case Detective, where the majority of our research takes place. It provides us with access to news and information, a place to share all of our documents and data, and various streaming platforms to find valuable wisdom on the topics we are covering. The problem is, sometimes that critical documentary isn't available in the country we're located, and public Wi-Fi leaves us concerned about sharing files across easily accessible servers. Luckily, with Surfshark VPN, those concerns are completely solved. Surfshark VPN is an unparalleled virtual private network with unbelievably protective perks and easy-to-navigate security features meant to mask your online activity. All of your internet browsing, including where you're doing it from, is withheld via military-grade encryption to prevent people from snooping in. This allows you to share files safely, access your bank accounts, and feel confident wherever you are, even when using shared Wi-Fi. Surfshark VPN also allows you to change your location in real time to one of many servers found all over the globe. This means that if a certain film or documentary we need for research is unavailable in our country, we can simply travel to a different part of the world via Surfshark and access that media in a matter of seconds. It's a seamless process with zero risk attached. Surfshark VPN also includes a no strings attached, no logs policy, meaning your data will never be collected or sold no matter what. You can also enjoy the peace of mind of their cookie pop-up blocker and clean web initiative, where millions of phishing scams and malicious websites are automatically blocked at your convenience. Sign up for Surfshark VPN using the link in the description below and enter promo code COLDCASE for 83% off and an extra 3 months for free. The internet is an unpredictable place. Use the tools at your disposal to make it secure. Mr. X. On the morning of December 11th, 1972, a farmer discovered the body of a man in a wooded area of his property near Claiborne, Johnson County. The man had been shot twice with a .25 caliber pistol that is described as a Saturday night special, a slang term which refers to a weapon that is inexpensive, compact, and of poor quality. Investigators also said the weapon was ineffective at a distance. The man's cause of death was determined to be the wound to his chest. He had no clothing and no belongings, not on his person nor at the scene. While the man's fingerprints were taken, they didn't provide law enforcement with his name. As a result, he was dubbed Mr. X. Mr. X is described as a white or Hispanic male, originally thought to be between the ages of 30 and 50, with short, curly brown hair. He weighed 110 pounds and is around 5 foot 6 inches tall. He had been dead for a week or less at the time of his discovery. The initial investigation into Mr. X's death proved difficult from the get-go. His remains had been severely damaged by scavenging animals, and some parts of him have never been recovered as a consequence. Furthermore, detectives discovered there were no spent casings at the crime scene, which indicated to them that the young man may have been slain elsewhere. In the 1990s, a reporter claimed they had met with a man who told them the crime was the work of drug dealers who were motivated by a desire for vengeance, but there are few details available about this theory. Little progress was made in the Mr. X case during the 1970s or subsequent decades. As a result, he was buried without his true name in a pauper's grave at the Rose Hill Cemetery in Texas. The case remained cold until 2012, when it was examined by Johnson County Sheriff's Office Cold Case Squad. In August of 2013, Mr. X's remains were exhumed for further analysis and DNA collection. During this process, it was discovered that the young man was considerably younger than originally thought. He was not 30 to 50, but closer to the ages of 16 to 24. It was also around this time that investigators suggested that he had not been stripped after death, but was unclothed after being found in a, quote, compromising situation. A 2014 article, which appeared in the Claiborne Time Review, stated that investigators were working with two theories. The first was that Mr. X got into a fight with two men in a Fort Worth bar. However, while Mr. X shot both men, neither of them died, and so they decided to get revenge. An investigator with the cold case squad at the time, Jason Ferguson, stated, Johnson County was a kind of dumping ground for bodies from Tarrant and sometimes Dallas counties back in those days. Another theory suggests Mr. X was working on a ranch in the county and was flirting with his boss's wife. Though he was told to stop, he didn't, and so he was killed. According to Ferguson, however, many of the people they feel who would be able to confirm or deny these ideas are now dead. Reconstructions of Mr. X's face have been difficult to create over the years. His post-mortem images are very grainy, while his skull is incomplete, as his mandible was never found. Over the course of the years, his remains have also disintegrated, especially the skull. Still, in October of 2020, Carl Kopelman, who has frequently done reconstruction images for Jane and John Doe cases, created an image of what he thought Mr. X looked like before his death. In 2019, the DNA Doe Project became involved in the case, with the aim of discovering Mr. X's true identity. According to their website, it is currently pending. Mr. X's case is still unsolved. If you have any information about it, you can contact the Johnson County Sheriff's Office at 817-556-6058. Samantha Tapp. Samantha, or Sam, Tapp's friends, described her as a funny girl who loved to make others laugh. Her sister, Kendale, agreed with this sentiment. In her teen years, Sam loved spending time outdoors, socializing, and going to the local speedway to watch car races. But for Sam, it wasn't all laughter and good times. She and her sister had a troubled home life and had landed in foster care for some time until their foster mother could no longer look after them. Following this, Kendale was sent to live with their grandparents, while Sam was sent to live with an aunt, but was eventually reunited with her sibling when she also moved in with the girl's grandparents in the city of Burleson. Kendale described the pair's relationship as close, noting they were always there for one another and could trust each other, and this is why she finds Sam's disappearance particularly troubling. On October 12, 2004, 16-year-old Sam went to visit Kendale, who had recently moved out with a boyfriend. During the visit, the sisters bickered. One article states that Kendale recalled it was probably something silly, while another report states they fought because Sam was upset that her sister had moved out of their grandparents' home. She then asked to stay with Kendale, who refused and told her to go home. The last time Kendale saw the 16-year-old was around 8 p.m. when Sam stormed out the house, angry and upset. Kendale assumed that Sam just needed to have some time out and blow off some steam, but when she didn't return home to her grandparents that night, the family became worried. The teenager had run away before, but it was usually only for a few hours and at most a day. She never went far and was never gone for long. But this time was different. When several days passed and nobody heard from her, Sam's family reported her missing. Kendale felt it was a waste of time from the start, however, as the Burleson Police Department seemed uninterested in the case. Like many of the missing young people we cover on this channel, Sam's troubled background and history of running away caused investigators to assume she had left voluntarily and that she'd be fine on her own or come home when she felt like it. But Sam never returned. No search was conducted for the 16-year-old, and there was no investigation into her disappearance. Authorities didn't even question friends and family. The case has received very little media coverage, and has had barely any updates since 2004. In the week following the teenager's disappearance, her grandparents returned home, accompanied by Kendall, to find unexplained cigarette butts and rearranged furniture in their back garden. Kendall wondered if perhaps Sam had gathered some of her friends there and hung out without them knowing the family was out. They let the police know of this strange occurrence and were told to change their locks. According to one source, on February 17, 2011, Sam's name was run by police in Columbia County, Oregon, but there are no longer any records on file regarding the details of this inquiry. Similarly, the same article states that the name Samantha Tapp was run by U.S. Customs and Border Patrol at the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, around 30 to 40 minutes away from Burleson, on June 20, 2014 at 9:50 p.m. Once again, however, no record of this search still exists. Kendall has noted that at the time of Sam's disappearance, she did not have a passport. Her social security number has also not been used since she went missing. In 2015, Burleson Police Department called in the Texas Attorney General to investigate Sam's disappearance. Months before she vanished, the 16-year-old had taken her aunt's car without permission and had been placed on probation. Since she went missing while still on probation, she was considered a fugitive. The police had hoped that the extra resources brought in by the Attorney General would help locate the missing team, but they had no such luck. No trace of Sam was found. Kendall is still looking for answers to her sister's disappearance. She has collected the case files from the Burleson Police and the Attorney General and hopes that she will discover something which will bring her to Sam. Over the last 18 years, she has kept the same phone number in case her sister ever wanted to call, and has stated that if she could speak to Sam, she would tell her she's not in any trouble and she doesn't have to be afraid of coming home, as there are people who love her. As of May 2022, Sam's fate remains unknown. Samantha Tapp was 16 when she vanished from Burleson, Texas on October 12, 2004. She is described as a white woman with black hair and brown eyes and stands at 5'4". When she was last seen, she weighed 120 pounds. She may use the last name Vandiver and may wear glasses or contact lenses. If she is still alive, she will be 33 years old. If you have any information about Sam's disappearance, you can contact the Burleson Police Department at 917-426-9910. Ara Johnson. On the evening of April 2nd, 1986, 5-year-old Ara Johnson was put to bed by her parents, wearing orange underwear and snuggled up underneath dark orange bedding. She was last seen by her father between 1 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. in her room, in her family's mobile home in the 300 block of Boulder Street in the town of Big Sandy. When Ara's parents awoke between 6:30 and 6:45 the following morning, however, they were distraught to find their daughter was gone. The back door to the home was open, and there were no signs of a struggle in Ara's room. Her orange bedspread had also been taken, along with the girl herself, and there were no traces of the 5-year-old in or around the home. She hadn't simply walked off. It appeared that somebody had taken her, but nobody had seen or heard anything unusual that night. Not Ara's family, nor her neighbors. Law enforcement officers brought scent dogs with them to the scene, but the canines couldn't find the little girl's scent. According to Ara's Charlie Project page, her parents, James and Ophelia, took polygraph tests shortly after the disappearance. It also mentions that another man was also asked to take one, and he obliged. However, there does not appear to be any information about who this man is or why he was asked to take the test. Detectives believed that whoever had taken the little girl was aware of the family's habits. In 2007, decades after Ara went missing, authorities announced that they believed a serial killer and child rapist named David Elliott Penton was a person of interest in the case. Born in February of 1958, Penton grew up in Columbus, Ohio, and was raised alone by his mother after his father abandoned them. At the age of 17, Penton joined the U.S. Army, where he became a track vehicle mechanic until 1984. That year, while stationed at Fort Hood, he violently shook his own 2-month-old son to death because he wouldn't stop crying. Penton pled guilty to a manslaughter charge. However, while on bail, he went on the run from authorities. He was arrested 3 years later in Ohio, when he took the life of a friend's young niece. Penton has been in prison in Ohio since 1987. While incarcerated, he signed a plea agreement admitting to the murders of 3 young children in Texas after bragging about the crimes to his inmates. 5-year-old Christy Lynn Meeks vanished from her mother's front yard as she played on January 19, 1985. Several months later, Christy's remains were discovered 40 miles away after they surfaced in Lake Texoma. Her cause of death was listed as drowning and strangulation. Penton's next victim was 9-year-old Christy Proctor, who was taken while she walked home in North Dallas in February of 1986. Her body was found in a field 2 years later. She had been sexually assaulted and strangled. 4-year-old Roxanne Ray was snatched while picking wildflowers for her mother near her Garland apartment on November 3, 1987. 1 year later, her body was found in the city of Murphy, Texas. Like Christy Proctor, she had been sexually assaulted and strangled to death. Penton is suspected of being involved in numerous other disappearances of young girls, and he attempted several other abductions throughout the 1980s before his arrest. The victims in those cases identified him as the would-be abductor. So far, as well as Ara's case, Penton is believed to have been involved in the cases of 3 other children. Updates in Ara's case have been few and far between in the decades since she vanished. In 2011, the Upshur County Sheriff's Office, who is the agency handling her case, discovered remains near Lake O' the Pines, a reservoir in Texas. However, the remains did not belong to the missing 5-year-old. Tragically, Ara's family are not strangers to heartbreak. 9 months before their daughter vanished, James and Ophelia Johnson's 6-year-old son drowned in a terrible accident. Following Ara's disappearance, the couple divorced. James has since passed away. Ara Johnson was just 5 years old when she vanished from her family's residence in the 300 block of Boulder Street in the town of Big Sandy. She is described as a black girl with brown eyes and black hair. At the time of her disappearance, she was 3 feet tall, weighed around 39 pounds, and was missing her front 2 lower teeth. She was wearing orange underwear. Ara also had a silver filling in her back right molar and may use the nickname Niecy. If she is alive, she will be 41 years old. If you have any information about Ara's disappearance, you can call the Upshur County Sheriff's Office at 903-843-2541. And there you have the facts. Please leave a comment down below with your own thoughts and speculations, and remember to like this video and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching. Stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.